Welcome to the Win, Make, Give podcast. It's Chad Hyams here, new location, Florida, and Bob Stewart is there. Bob, you are not, our audience doesn't see us. I do. You are not where you normally are.
I'm not. You see the backdrop of the lake house, and we've talked about it on the
podcast. I see siding. So you're telling me you're
talked about it on the on the podcast before. We're out at the lake house that the family bought about a year and a half ago, and I was telling you this is the first time this summer that we've had a chance to be out here because it's been rented. We Airbnb it, and it's been rented every single day this summer. We actually had to book this little time frame for the family. Actually, my boys are over here, Chad. So if they pipe in on the podcast episode today, they're in big trouble, boys. Just so you know, you're in big trouble. But you know, they're 6 and 8, so I don't know how much we can control them. But here we are.
There you go. It's enough that they hop in and out when you're at home. Now we've got them bored out of their mind running around at the lake house.
Like they shouldn't be bored. Like there's basketballs and footballs and lakes and, you know, a deer. Last time there was a deer over here, I don't think they left, but all right, see you later. Bye. Out here they go. Okay.
There you go. All right. Well, so Bob, here's the thing. They're young, right? I mean, it was great that you brought them up, 6 and 8. How old are you?
47.
47. I want to let you know, I did a little research today on how old I was. And
what do you mean you didn't know? What do you mean you did research on how old you were? What are you talking about?
Right. I know how old my body is. Right. I know how long I've been on this earth. I'm coming up on 53 of those years.
Okay.
But my magic watch here tells me I'm actually only 43 years old.
Ooh.
Some other calculator I went to today told me I'm actually in my young 20s. I don't know if I agree with that one.
That was the one put out by Abercrombie and Fitch. They want you to come to their store and buy their, their skinny jeans or whatever.
Actually, I'd have to look up exactly where it was. This one, Bob, is actually one of the top fitness calculators done by and I'd have to do the NT. It's the Norwegian University of Science and Technology that have done a lot of research into this stuff. And they asked a few simple questions about your waistline, right? Your resting heart rate, your height, your weight, how often you wear stuff. And they came back and told me that my body is probably in my young 20s, which stimulated this topic that I wanted us to have today, which was ways for us to stay young. Because, I mean, 50's around the corner for you.
Yeah, let's go.
I don't want you to feel it when you get there. Now, I'm not trapping you, Bob Stewart. This is not only.
Yeah, all right. I'm looking at the list. But down lower, there's some stuff that's not just straight physical health. Okay.
Correct, right? It's not just physical. I want to talk about that because obviously, folks, our physical health will help us be younger, right? It'll help us feel younger, have the energy of somebody who was younger and all that. Yeah, we're not only going to talk physical today, because I know Bob would have just rebelled on me and not been here. I got to trap him a little bit more. We are going to talk, Bob, mentally, socially, emotionally, even some lifestyle stuff that's going to help our audience stay forever young.
Okay.
Let's go. We want to, right? There are sites I told you out there, like my Garmin watch. If you're wearing a Garmin watch or an Apple watch, you probably have the data that gives you your fitness age, what they refer to as. So you can go out there and you can figure out, hey, I might be almost 53, yet I have the body fitness level apparently of a 43-year-old. Hopefully that's a healthy 43-year-old. Who knows? Right? Because if it was Bob at 43, that's not a good answer. Bob, I just want to run through some quick ways for our audience to physically stay young, and then let's get into conversation on the other stuff, if that's okay with you.
Yeah. Let's go through this first bit pretty quick.
Okay, so physical stuff, you should know this, people. You should exercise regularly, right? I don't care whether you're swimming, whether you're doing yoga, whether it's you run, whatever you do. And in your case, Bob, exercise might be keeping up with the boys.
Yeah.
I got to imagine you've probably burned a few calories up at the lake house chasing them around.
Yes, for sure. More so when we're at home, though. It's just a lot of basketball, Chad. But yeah, for sure. Like I'm a rebounding machine.
Okay. Yeah, you got to go and track it. All right. The second thing here, we all know this is a challenge for you, Mr. Stewart, and that's eat a balanced diet.
Well, I kid, but the reality is, I do have a pretty balanced diet. Like,
Yeah.
I will sneak a cinnamon roll in at night. Don't get me wrong. So I'm not sure what side of the equation that lands on, but you know, one of my wife's superpowers is she's an amazing cook, and so it's like I do eat a pretty consistent breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I'll skip lunch every now and then, Chad, which is probably not that healthy, but balance wise, like there's salads, there's fruit, there's like we get those things into the diet here as much as I kid
Okay.
about eating a cinnamon roll every night.
Okay. So, folks, right, that's making sure that we're having foods that are lean protein. We're having foods that are healthy fats. We hear that term all the time. I'm not going to get into it. Fatty fishes are good for you. Nuts are good for you. Bob just mentioned a salad, that leafy green, berries. These are things that can actually slow down your physical aging in your body if you're eating these things. Staying
Speak
hydrated.
berries.
We've talked.
We went and picked blackberries like 3 days ago. My wife made a blackberry crisp. It was amazing. She let it sit in the fridge for 3 days, and then when I finally ate the last piece, like on the third day, she got mad at me. Now, granted, she had like put it aside in her own little bowl and had a spoon
She was
already in it, but I
hiding
thought she
it.
was serving it up for me. Yeah, then I ate it, and she was not happy. So
Well,
berries, we're getting berries, Chad.
go pick her some more berries, Bob. All right. The next on the list was staying hydrated. Right. We've talked about this before. Hydration helps flush out toxins. It helps keep your skin healthier and stuff, which is, of course, going to age you young, keep you younger. There have been many, many studies on the amount of water you should take in every day. Right now, the recommended amount is half your body weight in ounces. So take whatever you weigh. Let's say you're a 200-pound person out there. That means you should be drinking 100 ounces of water a day. Just do the simple math and figure out how much water you should be drinking and drink it. And that's water, right? Not sodas, things like that. That doesn't count. Sleep. Bob, we don't need to, right? I think we've done episodes on sleeping, best sleeping conditions, right? Cooler the room is, the darker the room is. These are going to be things that help your brain and helps your body recover a lot of those age related diseases that come on. If you're getting good sleep, your body will be able to help prevent from occurring, keep you going. Sun protection. We joked on a webinar we were doing last week.
Oh yeah,
I had been at the beach for a little while, and that was the color I turned just setting up the sun tent to sit under. That I turned that red. Obviously, folks, the UV rays, they're dangerous, right? I'm not saying you got to be pasty white like I am or Ben is, yet remember that those rays are dangerous. Put on some sort of sun protection. And every year, go to your doctor for a physical, right? Just find out what's going on. A lot of people are like, I don't like my doctor. A lot of people are like, oh, they're just going to want to get me on some sort of medication. Look, you don't have to go on a medication. Yet you need awareness. Bob, we talk business, we talk finances, and the thing that we always talk about is we have to have awareness, because if we don't know what's going on, we can't track against it, watch changes, see things happening. That's what happens if you go get regular health checkups as needed. All right. So there's the basic physical stuff. You want to add anything to that? I know I'm usually the guy who leads the physical. Is there anything you want to add to that?
No.
Okay. I didn't think so.
One of the and I don't know, maybe this is down mentally. I haven't seen this list, so I don't know, but like I would say like deal with your stress. Like,
Yep.
and I don't know, maybe that comes into mental, Chat, or social or something, but like I really do believe stress can kill you. And so physically, most of that probably is in that exercise lane, right? Like find some outlet for your stress.
It's a great point, Bob. It will come up a little bit when we get into some of the mental stuff where we're helping prevent stress.
Okay.
Physical is a great way to release it. There are some people who need to, absorb it almost, right? They'll meditate it in and release it that way. And then there's other people like me who take our stress and it goes outward, right? And that comes out through some sort of workout. The only thing I will add, and a lot of people don't like this piece, is the older you get, actually, the more you need weight training.
Okay.
Right. So just getting on a Peloton, that's good, but that's cardio training. Weight training Strength training is where you're lifting weights, whether that's just push-ups and it's body weight, whether that's actually with dumbbells or some tool or something. Weight training strengthens muscles and bones, right?
Yeah,
And that's
man,
going to help.
I'm at that age. Like
Yeah.
I know I need weight training. I can stand in the mirror and look at like my shoulder structure and be like, man, like my muscle is. It used to be through my 20s and 30s, like that. It stayed there, and now I'm like, I need to do something with it. It's going away, right? Like the muscle
Yes.
structure is going away. It's crazy.
Okay, so remember that. Let's move on from the physical because I don't think there was anything in there that I couldn't have just quizzed any audience member and that they wouldn't have been able to say, well, here are the 6 things I would say, Chad,
Yeah.
right? Because that's it, right? Lower your resting heart rate is, the healthier you are. And the only way your heart rate gets lower resting is being healthy and pushing your heart so that it can relax on the other time. But let's get to the other parts of us, mental, social, all that other stuff, Bob. You already brought up deal with your stress, right? So one of the ways to be mentally younger, to stay forever young, as I'm calling this episode, right? Meditation,
Mm.
right? It will reduce stress, improves your well-being, and can actually slow the aging of the brain. So if you're one that needs to internalize to release that stress because you don't just go burst it out there in a run or a workout or something, meditation absolutely will help keep you forever young. Now, we've been on enough podcasts with people, Bob. Meditation doesn't have to be some big complicated thing.
Yeah.
Right? Where we've got to go trap ourselves and sit still for 1 minute and just breathe. And when your mind drifts away, don't beat yourself up. Just bring it back to your breath. I do the box breathing. We've talked about that one before. 4 seconds in, hold it for 4 seconds, 4 seconds out, hold for 4 seconds. Okay, I just keep counting my way around the box. I don't remember what her name was off the top of my head. She taught us the 7-Eleven breathing.
Yep. I'm a fan
Right?
of
Which
that
I
one.
know
I do
you've
that all the
adopted
time.
and
Yeah.
you do that one, right? Okay, so instead of doing it so that you don't want to just strangle your kids, do it purposefully. Go sit in a corner, do some 7-Eleven breathing, realizing that's 20 seconds. I mean, yeah, okay, folks, it's 18. That's 20 seconds. If you just did it 5 times, you've just done a minute of meditation.
Chad, one of the things, like a piece of advice I would give here, because this has really helped me recently, is like have a place for that. Like at my house, I work.
You mean
I
like
work
a
from home.
meditation corner or something? Is
Yeah,
that what
yeah,
you're
like a
talking about?
spot. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Because like I will go out. So I have a patio out kind of off of the basement where my office is, and I will. There's a chair out in that patio, and I'll go out there at a similar time of day. And the sun over the course of the seasons moves, but like right now it's kind of right up just on my face. And it's just a good spot for me to be like, okay, this is this place that I take that some of that deep breathing, right? And just like kind of let the world inside on the other side of the wall melt away for a little bit, because there's that when I'm in my office, I don't know if I'm always stressed, but there is that kind of low level hum of the stress of work and life upstairs in the house, right? And when I just, for whatever reason, that spot outside, it just makes me relax. So, I can I've gotten to the point here in the last, I don't know, let's say month where I know I need to get to that spot. I can like feel the stress building up, and I'm like, man, I just need to go sit in the spot, right? And when
Yep.
I sit there, almost my muscles relax. So I don't know. That's been a little hack for me that like my brain has connected that spot with this idea of meditation.
Yeah, John Maxwell always talked. He had his reading chair, and that's all he did in that chair is he went there and he read, or he went there and he thought. Right, he had space. Yes, set up a meditation spot in your house. Doesn't have to be all multiple colored rugs and all these things you see. It can be a chair on
Yeah.
the patio that's just your place where you sit and breathe and relax. That's a great one, Bob. Do you do any sort of puzzles? Are you a kind of guy? Do you have like that game on your phone that's a problem solving or anything
I'm
like that?
I'm laughing because have you seen how kids do math now?
Yeah, I think it's the way I would have done math better if they
It,
taught me
it
that stuff then.
I mean, it is not the right way to do math. I'm
No, it's not your
laughing.
way to do math.
I'm laughing because he's about to go be in third grade, but this year in second grade, sometimes he'd bring home stuff, and I'm like I literally had to like relearn math almost, So, um, I'm not somebody that like purposely does puzzles, or my wife does that. She's like a puzzle, a word games, right? Some of the word games that I'm more like learn something, right? Like, and so like I think we talked about this not that long ago on the podcast. Like AI has been a thing that I've like really been trying to learn. A lot of a lot of the learning stuff for me, Chad, is attached to our business, right? Ben will say, "Hey, check this company out. Tell me what you think about what they're doing. What's unique about that, right?" And so I'm always like looking at. So I do keep my brain pretty challenged, I think, but I'm not intentional with like the puzzles and the word games, and I know that stuff can be really valuable because it forces your brain to kind of think outside of the normal lanes that you're thinking in.
Yep.
To me, that would be what you're doing to challenge. And so for me, like looking at AI is it's maybe adjacent to how my brain's normally thinking, but um, so I am challenging myself with something new, or I'm trying to as often as possible.
Well, that's another thing on the list, Bob, right? That's that lifelong learning. Never say you're not learning, because that's going to keep your brain, creating new neural pathways and firing things and pulling out memories and all that stuff. It's going to keep your brain sharp. Me, yes, I do a cryptogram once a day. My grandfather was big into those. He was 90 years old, as sharp as a tack, right? Doing cryptograms. He could have still won on Wheel of Fortune day after day. Nonograms, which are other puzzles, which numbers and stuff like that. Think about this, folks. It's okay to take 2 or 3 minutes. I'm not sitting there just playing Candy Crush because I'm bored. Now I'm playing a game that's specifically challenging my brain. Do puzzles, do Legos still with your kids. For those of you, learn a language, right? Take Duolingo. It's free to use Duolingo, and go pick a language that you just always wanted to have some understanding of. Nita and I went out for a new restaurant last night. We found a great little hole in the wall Italian restaurant down here. And the guy's actually from Italy. And he was speaking Italian, and I was able to pick out like every third word. And I was able to order my wife another glass of wine when she wanted one in Italian. Now, he laughed at me when I said it because I didn't get all the pronunciation, but he was like, "But I know what you mean," right? So think about how we keep our brain going in this regard, Bob.
I think
That's how we mentally stay
the
young forever.
to me, like the thing that kind of underlines all of this in the mental category, Chad, is like that curiosity, right? Like just somehow stay curious in life. Because if you get to a place where you're like you've lost the curiosity or your desire to want to learn more new things, like that feels like a place when your brain's starting to die.
Yes. I don't have the studies in front of me and the statistics in front of me, right? But there's a huge statistic that's like, when people retire within 6 months, a huge percentage of those people actually pass away, sadly.
Yeah.
And that's what's missing, Bob, right? It's the purpose of having something to go do every day. And then they lose the curiosity stimulation that would come from being at a job or having some work to do. That's what leads to that. Then they start declining quickly.
Yeah. Look, as we get into the next kind of header, right, which is like socially, what are the things that you should be doing to stay and feel younger? Um, I think there's a lot of like your job makes a lot of these things potentially easier because like Chad, as we go into this next one, the socially, it talks about like cultivating new friendships as one of the things that you know can keep us young. And I think like it's hard. It's hard to go out and find new friends, and I think but your job sometimes will introduce you to those people, and so, it doesn't surprise me that, like, as people retire, there's a lot of these kinda connections that keep you young are harder to find when you're not in a kind of a forced social scenario every day.
Yeah, I work from home, right? You work from home a lot now. You get out sometimes and you're forced to be. And so I work from home, and we went out yesterday just because Nita said to me, look, if we don't go out today, it's going to be 3 days before you probably step outside of the house again. Right. So you're right. A lot of that comes from going to a job, being interactive with people, having kids, right? Because now what's going to happen is your kids are going to start developing friendships with people. And now you're going to become friends with their parents because it just has to, right? And you're going to end up in a lot of those situations. You're right. Next up is socially. How do we stay forever young? And you've already, right, cultivating new friendships. Because the more we can meet new people, the more the curiosity is still there. Our brain is going to, oh, I'm going to meet somebody new. Let me learn about them. They're diverse. They might bring me some sort of new perspective on something because they grew up in a different way than I grew up, or they've lived somewhere different than I've lived.
God,
And that's going to keep our brain socially young.
You're like describing, this is so funny. We have kids, young kids, right? And so
Yep.
we're getting to that spot because our boys are in school, where now we're like not necessarily having to, but we're becoming friends with some of their parents' friends. And we recently went over and had dinner with um, Carter's like little best friend and his parents. And as I think about that night, it's like they have a pickleball court in their backyard, so we played some pickleball with these new friends, right? She's
Yep.
she's from Moldova, and so we learned some stuff about a country that I've never, I didn't know much about. He is an entrepreneur, but he does a franchise business, and I've never really talked to somebody about like what that. So we probably spent an hour talking about some of the details of franchising, and so just like this one kind of new friendship cultivated because of our kids' relationships, right? Like really highlighted a bunch of the things we've already talked about in that one night.
Absolutely, right? It's fantastic how it happens, and it keeps you younger because of that. Because there's those opportunities. I'm meeting with somebody in our community on Saturday to learn how to make homemade pasta. Right? I want to make pasta from scratch. I've always wanted to learn how to make pasta from scratch, and she's like, clearly, right? She's an Italian older woman. She's what a nonna. That's an Italian grandmother. She's like, I'll teach you. Right? Come on over. Bring some flour. Bring some eggs, and get ready to get messy, right? Okay, it's going to mentally stimulate me and teach me a new skill and things that are in that.
By the way, on the flip side of that is her,
Yep.
who's somebody a little bit older in the community, and she's really volunteering, Chad. She's like, sure, I'll volunteer my time to teach you a skill that I acquired over my lifetime, right? So for her, volunteering her time to spend with you to teach you that thing is also like she's probably excited about it, and mentally she's lining everything up and remembering how to teach it, not just do it. Like so both of you guys, I think, are getting some benefit out of that interaction.
That's the beautiful thing, Bob. What a great point you're bringing up. That's one of the beautiful things about staying forever young. Physically, it's only you, right? Me. I get those benefits from eating right, drinking enough water, exercising, and all that stuff. Everything else on our list, it's almost a shared benefit. Right? Remaining curious. Okay, so I'm getting into conversation with you. I don't understand. My daughter was just here. She's 23. She was explaining a lot of things to Nita and I, the 23-year-old. And we're like, okay, we're staying curious. We're there, but my daughter's also learned. So there's that staying young becomes a shared thing with other people. And of course, socially, it's keep strong relationships, right? It's not about the number of relationships you have, it's the strength of the relationships you have. I just got the opportunity to have lunch with one of my best friends from high school who's still like a brother to me, although I haven't seen him in 15 years. Right? So just getting together and feeling that, well, what happened? We walked away and he got to meet my wife for the first time. And I said to Nita, what did you think? She said, well, you guys couldn't have just, you might as well have been 17-year-old boys again back in high school, what you were talking about, the way you were talking and all that. Okay. So I got younger,
Yeah.
right, during that experience because I maintained stronger relationships with people. So folks, strengthen up some of those relationships as well.
Where do you want to go next?
Let's hit some of this emotional stuff that's there. I think all our audience members probably have a lot of this one. This is one of Ben's favorite ways to improve your mood, right? And one of the best ways to stay young, and that's laugh. Right? And if
Well,
you've ever been
I
in
would,
bench session when that
yeah.
comes up, right? You know what's in store.
It's actually one of my, like, as ridiculous as it is, and every time I know it's on the verge of happening, I'm like slightly embarrassed almost, right? Right afterwards, I'm like, that was awesome.
Absolutely, right? And folks, if you've never been in one of Ben's trainings where he does this, he makes you laugh as loud as you can, as hard as you can. And it's obvious for the first 5 seconds, everybody in the room is faking this laughter. And after 5 seconds, you start laughing at yourself. You start laughing at the person beside you who's laughing. You start laughing at just how stupidly ridiculous it is that you're doing it. And before you know it, for the next 55 seconds of this, you're really, truly laughing. And Bob, laughter is one of the best natural stress relievers there is.
Hey man, you can like when that, and I almost like when that exercise is over, you can just feel the blood in your brain and almost the sparkles behind your
Shoulders drop,
eyelids.
right? And
Yeah, but I don't think, I think there's something to the energy of the rest of the room, and that just it's really a fascinating thing. And it's not something you ever think about when you're just laughing. Like when he has you do it, to then when you're done say, now how do you feel, and you immediately take like stock in how you feel right then, where you can just feel the blood and like the adrenaline and the good, right? You don't ever think of that right, when you've just had a nice laughing session because you watched a comedian that you like, right? But though it's the same things, like it's your brain is responding to all of that good serotonin or whatever, whatever it is that's being released there. Yeah, find a way to do that more, you guys, more.
Yeah, laughter, Bob, it's amazing how healthy laughter is for us, right? Natural stress reliever. It'll actually improve your circulation. It can boost your immunity system. Folks, if you're not laughing once a day, at least find something that makes you
Yeah,
laugh, right? Watch a
find
sitcom.
funnier friends. Find
There you go. Find funnier friends for it. All right. Bob, how about something else in the emotional, kind of spiritual world without getting religious, of course, but the
I like
emotional spirit that keeps us young?
I like gratitude, Chad.
Yep. Yep.
And that can be spiritually. I think a lot of religions like kind of practice that part of the gratitude. But there's a I think any day at any point, all of us could sit down and we could conjure up something that we're not thankful for, that we wish we could change, or we could conjure up something that we were thankful for, and like we're constantly met with that choice in life, I think. And I think the more times you can choose gratitude and kind of uplifting your own spirit, the better off, long term your health will be, and just your I don't know, you'll feel better, I promise.
Yeah, Bob. There's the tale, and I'll get this wrong, yet everybody will recognize. Oh, I know the story he's attempting to tell. Right, the grandfather talking to his young grandson, and he's saying that there's two wolves inside you. Right, one is hate and anger and fear and resentment, and the other one is love and gratitude and tenderness and caring. And he says, but only one wolf can survive. And the grandson says, well, which one, Grandpa? And he says, well, whichever one you feed.
Mm.
Right. So think about that. People that are dark, people that are evil, they don't live as long as people that are happy and joyous and all of those things. Right. They tell you stop smoking. And then we look at someone like what George Burns, right, who lived forever with a cigarette or a cigar in his hand every freaking minute and a drink in the other one. Right. I mean, uh, laughter and the right mindset, the right emotional situation is going to make all the difference. And then, Bob, another one that would go in this is, do you have that purpose?
Yeah. I mean, that gets back to that comment you made earlier about people retiring and all of a sudden they're just wayward and they're like, I don't even know I don't have a reason to get up anymore.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Have a
purpose is a
purpose.
big deal. I mean, not just for your physical well-being, I think for your financial well-being, having a purpose matters. Um, and even if you were to think of like your physical well-being, like you have a purpose, Chad. You were gonna do the marathon, right? And then you have a purpose. You were gonna do the Tough Mudder. So like even in that sense, having a purpose or a I don't know, a goal or something matters. But yeah,
Yeah, we just had a whole bunch of our colleagues, friends compete and complete what's called 29029. So for those of you that listen that did it, congratulations to you, right? Applaud. For those of you who took on the challenge and didn't summit Everest, congratulations to you on the lessons that you hopefully learned along the way. Here's the thing though. Do you have a new purpose now? Right? Because that purpose is over. That purpose is done. It probably drove you for the last few months, longer for some of you, shorter for some of you. Yet do you have another one? We need to have a purpose, which Bob segues us into kind of the last group, that lifestyle group. Do you have a hobby? Right? Because a hobby gives you a purpose. It also gives you something to keep your brain stimulated and creativity flowing and curiosity happening. I don't care if it's an instrument. I don't care if you paint. I don't care if, whatever you want. It releases stress, makes you learn, gives you a purpose to tend to something, to do something, to learn, to move forward. It's an ultimate thing. Folks, get a hobby.
Chad, I think I've been really strongly contemplating my next hobby I want to pick up. I think it's going to be making shoes. I know that sounds crazy, but
the Lego ones that I sent you the other day are real shoes.
Real shoes. I don't know. We'll see. There's a couple of places you can learn this skill, and I don't know. Anyway,
start with hats. They're probably easier.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay. And I'm right. Mine is cooking. I just told you I'm going to meet with a lady to make pasta and all that stuff. So now I can go back to the health stuff because I can eat healthier, because I can cook better and I can control what goes into my food. Right. All of these things can work together for you. Just make sure.
I guess recently it has been baseball cards with my kids, right? There is some sense of me tapping into my youth there, and when we sit down and play with those things, I feel young. So,
yes, right.
I mean,
and if you're feeling that way, you're helping your body, your brain, your mind, everything stay in that young state. Travel, right? Another great way to stay young in the lifestyle. One, it broadens your horizons, opens your brain to other things that are going out there, gives you that healthy outlook on life, and maybe gives you that reason to learn a language because you're going somewhere. Okay. And then, of course, know that change is coming, Bob. Right? The expression is wrong. It's death and taxes, right? That's what they say. They're the only guarantees in life. Change is a guarantee in life. Right? It is coming no matter what. And it's usually when you least expect it. Sometimes we choose the change, and sometimes the change just shows up and we've got to deal with it. Maybe that's the loss of a loved one. Maybe that's a loss of a job. Maybe that's our kids get older, right? You might see it coming, yet your kids go off to college. There's a change that's going to happen when they grow up and get there. And folks, if you can be open to change and be more flexible, one, it brings a lot less stress to you. It gives you that curiosity to come from. You can find gratitude in it. All of these things which help keep us forever young. And Bob, I want these people to stay around because they're our audience.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
I don't want to lose audience members because they start getting too old.
Do not go anywhere.
No, stay with us on the Win, Make, Give podcast because we've got a lot more coming, because I am completely obsessed with defying aging right now. It is a huge passion of mine. I'm doing so much research on it. It's the only reason I'm taking on this marathon challenge that I haven't really gone public too much with in February. It's a little down the road. I'm starting to train for it now to prove 20 years after my first marathon, Bob, I'm going to crush my first marathon time. I'm going to show that 20 years later doesn't mean I'm just older. I can be better 20 years later. My finances will be better 20 years later. My marriage, better 20 years later. My relationships, better. My health, better. I am obsessed with age defying right now. If you are connected to me on Facebook, you'll start to see the post coming soon, and you'll probably hear a few episodes on this topic, folks, because we want you to be able to stay forever young. So, that being said, bring somebody else along on this journey. Share this episode. There is someone who needs to hear it. And until the next one, as always, do good.